One of the summaries of global suburbanisms, this part of we're calling continuity and change in Canadian suburbia. The first thing I'd like to present is very preliminary results off of a matched census tract custom tabulation from Statistics Canada, providing information on 1981 and 2006 characteristics for matched boundaries in the 2006 spatial delineations of census tracts. This is a preliminary table showing a limited range of comparable variables, very basic measures of demography and housing stock characteristics of the Canadian suburb. And what we have done is to look at the median of the tract figures for the new growth frontier, census tracts where more than half of the housing units were built in the previous decade. And we were able to compare this for 1981 and then 25 years later. There's a lot of interesting stories here, but I just want to focus on one story, and that is the median of the tract figures for household income measured at the median level for each of these matched census tracts, and to look at the ratio between the new built environment and the existing built environment. In 1981, the new built environment, its income was higher, 1.24 times as high as the old built environment. So development kind of going the upscale. That ratio went from 1.24 to 1.50, so an increase in the upscaling of development over the course of that quarter century. At the same time, however, the spread of incomes measured by the simple coefficient of variation went from 0.72 down to 0.56. So this captures the simultaneous upscaling and consolidation of new development, most but not all, in the suburbs, so that it is as a higher level, but the variation is less. So this captures the stream of literature that has dominated urban studies for a number of years about suburbanization, new development, devalorizing other parts of the built environment that were developed in previous eras. But it's also a consolidation, a less inequality in this new built environment. The inequality is more between the new built environment and the old built environment. So inequality is increasing, but its spatial contours allow us to capture both aspects of the story. One side is the suburban solution, Richard Walker's work on the suburban solution and the suburban spatial fix, if you will. And Alan Walk's work on inequality in the post-Fordist global city. But at the same time, this increasing consolidation and the decreasing spread in this new built environment captures a certain amount of the creeping conformity that Richard Harris has diagnosed. Another part of our research is an attempt to capture, in a multivariate sense, the continuity and change between different parts of the built environment. Since we have matched census tracts for 1981 and for 2006, and we have observations at each point in time for each of those census tracts, we can do an entire pooled factorial ecology, and the degree to which individual variables load on the same factors over the space of a quarter century in the different snapshots that we have, we're able to do a very specific evaluation of how much change has changed in the relationship between various measures of demography and housing stock characteristics over this quarter century. What we're looking at here are the loadings from a standard Verimax rotated factorial ecology. Together, the first 7 factors account for 80% of the variance, and the communality estimates are all encouragingly high. And the loading patterns document a surprising degree of stability. Again, there's a lot of stories here, but we're simply going to focus on the stability story, which is the percentage married, the home ownership rate, and the single detached homes rate. The loadings are all very close, within 3% between 1981 and 2006. There are other changes in here, but the dominant expression, the spatial structures of the Canadian metropolis, are surprisingly stable. What has changed is the processes producing that, but the spatial expression itself remains more stable than we would have expected. This does not mean there is no variation. What it does mean is that the path dependency, the trajectories of the Canadian city regions are extraordinarily regionally diverse. And there is divergence, but at a national scale, if you look at the overall portrait of urbanization and suburbanism, there is a certain degree of stability in the spatial patterns and the built environment, the kind of built environment that is being produced. So another part of our research looks at the micro-level analysis using the public use microdata files for 2006, looking at the employed workforce working outside the home and looking at the degree to which different socioeconomic characteristics are associated with long commutes by automobile, and the degree to which housing built in recent years, controlling for the type of housing and controlling for the characteristics of the workers who were living in those houses, are required to use the automobile to commute to work. And when we look at this odd series of graphs after controlling for all of the individual characteristics that we have information from the microdata files, we see a surprising divergence. The 2001 to 2006 housing, the odds ratios for commuting more than 10 kilometers by private automobile. New housing is requiring automobile dependency at a far higher rate. Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton have shot up in recent years compared to the housing stock, which is older. The disparities in Vancouver have been suppressed, surprisingly. This is not to say that automobile dependence is not a problem in Vancouver, but the degree to which new housing is requiring the automobile as a prerequisite of daily life is regionally contingent. So that is a very short overview of a couple of the empirical vignettes that we're doing to try to analyze the changing pace and chasing the tails of the evolving suburban frontier and contemporary suburbanism as a way of life. Thanks.